Well, greetings vinyl community, and welcome to VC Friday and a Vinyl Finds video, where today the secret word is crackle. And this is an album I just picked up by the Dutch electronic musician Michel Weisvies. I first became aware of Michel Weisvies through this album from 1975, Saxophone Special by Steve Lacy, and what we have here is a quartet of saxophones, 4 saxophones playing Lacy's compositions and then improvising on those compositions, while underneath we have Derek Bailey on guitar and Michel Weisvies on electronics doing completely free improvisation. So there are the two levels of the composition with improvisation based on the composition, and then completely free sound underpinning it. And what Michel Weisvies is using on this is the crackle box. And the crackle box was an instrument that Weisvies invented. That's a tongue twister. And it basically consisted of a little wooden box with circuits inside and 6 little metal plates, and by touching them, just using the capacitance of your skin, or by touching them in various combinations and thus completing different circuits with your body, you would get different electronic sounds. And Weisvies developed this into the crackle synthesizer, which is what he uses on this album. And that's basically 3 crackle boxes sort of combined, or the working materials of 3 crackle boxes combined into a one big box with a sort of makeshift keyboard part. And you can actually see him on the back playing the crackle synthesizer, but it's kind of hard to make out with this white and yellow printing. But it is there. There is the crackle synthesizer. And the music is a little more formed than the strictly crackly stuff. It's got more of the, I want to use the word tonal, but I don't mean tonal in the sense of sticking with the Western scale of music, but it does have more defined pitches to it than you might expect from something just billed as crackle. This album was recorded in 1976 and 77, released in 78 on the FMP label, and it's completely Weisvies' own work, performed almost entirely on the crackle synthesizer. There's also some use of I believe a Putney synthesizer and a harmonica. He actually gets into identifiable blues using harmonica, blues harp, on this very abstract electronic music album. So this was a big find for me. Really happy to get this one. Crackle by Michel Weisvies. Of course, the most exciting vinyl that arrived this week was test pressings of the new album that I have in production. There will be much more on that soon, but for now you can always check out my Bandcamp page linked below and dig the albums that I have out already and know that more is on the way. Next, a brand new release featuring some of the most lavish packaging in recent memory, and that is the brand new album by Claypool Lennon Delirium, The Great Parrot Ox and the Golden Egg of Empathy, a double LP concept album with this beautiful embossed gold inlaid cover design. It's got the nice texture like a cloth-bound book, and indeed it contains a book. We get this 22-page comic by Rich Ragsdale, just beautifully done, beautifully realized. And this details in a very quirky way the sort of allegory of the dangers of AI and how it can be a good thing used properly, but it must be used with humanity or with huge manatees, which figure in the story. And as if that weren't enough, we get these nice printed inner sleeves with the lyrics, more artwork, and not just printed inner sleeves, but lined printed inner sleeves. You don't often get both. And this is the edition on green smoke vinyl, which is the Barnes & Noble exclusive version. Musically, we get this very eclectic mix of progressive and pop sounds. I hear a bit of Alan Parsons Project. I hear hints of Gong here and there. And I hear maybe a touch of XTC. So there's also, of course, the great funky bass playing of Les Claypool, of course, from Primus, and Sean Ono Lennon, whose dad was some music singing guy, providing lots of glorious sounds. So that's The Great Parrot Ox and the Golden Egg of Empathy by Claypool Lennon Delirium. Next, from 1982, the second solo album by Robin Hitchcock, after disbanding the Soft Boys. This is Groovy Decay, and this is the original Groovy Decay album. It's confusing because apparently Robin Hitchcock wasn't really satisfied with this album, and he later released the demos for the album under the title Groovy Decoy. And there's apparently another edition known as Groovy Deco that combines the two. But this is the 1985 German reissue from Line Records on white vinyl, as you can probably tell. And I think it's a great album. I don't know what Robin Hitchcock was worried about, because it's got very hooky, poppy, energetic songs. Displays a lot of Robin Hitchcock's typical macabre sense of humor. It's got this very foreboding cover, which I think is cool, especially the sort of unidentified material on the table there. And there's evidently the aftermath of something. The musicians on here are, at least the credited musicians, Robin Hitchcock on guitars and vocals, Sarah Lee on bass, formerly of Gang of Four and the League of Gentlemen with Robert Fripp, Anthony Thistlethwaite on saxophone, and Rod Johnson on drums. There's also a notable trumpet part on the single track, America, by Chris Cox. This was the first Robin Hitchcock album I ever heard or owned. I actually had the single of America first, and then immediately this came out right after, and I bought this. The single of America had 2 B-sides, and on this reissue, those B-sides are supposed to be on here. So at the end of side 1, we have How Do You Work This Thing? And at the end of side 2, in the track listing, we have It Was the Night. However, they screwed up, and It Was the Night does not actually play. When you play that track, it's actually America again. So the song America is on this pressing twice. It's a great song. It's worth listening to twice, but it's not what they meant to do.
There's 52 stations on the Northern Line. None of them is yours, one of them is mine. Most days you find her in a heap haze, looking through the sweet maze that she calls her mind. Sorrow, not anger. You forget the best.
Next is the only record that I've picked up from this past record store day so far, and that is The Stranglers' Rarities, a reissue of a compilation originally put out in 1988 and pressed this time on this very cool orange, violet, and white splatter. I'll pull it back a little. Looks like it's overexposing on the screen. I don't know. This is a little bit unusual in the way it's compiled. It's not the collection of simple single B-sides you might expect, though there are a couple of those on here. It mostly concentrates on tracks from singles that were promotional singles given away with the albums. So there's Choosy Susie, which was from the bonus single given away with the first pressing of Rattus Norvegicus. And there's the fantastic cover of Burt Bacharach's Walk On By, which was given away with the first pressing of Black and White. There are a lot of radio edits of otherwise familiar singles, and a couple of extended 12-inch tracks. We've got versions of Bear Cage and It's Flip Sha Sha A Go Go, and foreign language versions. So we have the Swedish version of Sweden, Sverige, and the French language version of Don't Bring Harry, Ne Mens Pas Harry. And little explanatory notes about each one. There's also the version, both sides of the single, Moni Moni and Mean to Me, which was released under the name Celia and the Mutations, with Celia being the singer and the Stranglers being the uncredited backup band, recording under the pseudonym The Mutations, but given their distinctly recognizable silhouette on the back of the actual single, I think people knew that was the Stranglers. And Peaches is the notorious radio edit which eliminates a few not usable words for airplay. So, oh shit, there goes the Sharabang becomes oh no. Is she trying to get out of that clitoris? And that's how they pronounce it, clitoris. I think there's a Seinfeld vibe in that usage of the word. It's changed to the much more understandable, is she trying to get out of that bikini? And finally, I'll be stuck here all summer, well, what a bummer, is changed to, well, what a summer, which makes no sense to censor and makes no sense syntactically. So I don't know what they were thinking, but that's the censored version of Peaches we get on here.
If you see me walking
Next, music of the Czech composer Bohuslav Martinu and a collection of jazz-inspired compositions. This is on the Czech Supraphone label. Recording from 1972. These jazz-inspired works were mostly written in the late 20s through 1930, a time known historically as the Jazz Age, but this was when Martinu was living in Paris, so there was definitely a certain jazz feel in the air, or a jazz faddishness in Parisian culture at that time. So some of the pieces have French titles, La Revue de Cuisine, or the Kitchen Review, Trois Esquisses, or Three Sketches, and simply Le Jazz. There's an influence of Stravinsky heard here, especially Stravinsky's wonderful Ragtime from 1918. And the cover of this album really, really catches my eye because I think it's so similar to this Mothers of Invention collection on MGM from the 60s, the old Golden Archive series. Next, a couple of records of Renaissance-era composers that both kind of go back to my college days. Not that I went to college during the Renaissance, but during my first year in a music class, we studied sections of the Missa Pange Lingua by the French-Flemish composer Josquin des Prez. And this is a mass that is based on the hymn attributed to St. Thomas Aquinas, Pange Lingua Gloriosi Corporis Mysterium, or Tell My Tongue the Glory of the mystery of the glorious body of Christ. And the theme of that hymn is the basis for the Mass, and this is a setting of the 6 parts of the ordinary, the Kyrie, Gloria, Credo, Sanctus, Benedictus, and Agnus Dei. We studied the Gloria, and we actually sang it. So we're a class of not necessarily singers, and they just passed out parts, and that was for a student who is not a singer, still a really interesting way to get immersed in the early polyphony of the Renaissance Mass by Josquin. This recording from the Musical Heritage Society is performed by the Philippe Caillard Choir. Now, the piece is written just for the 4 vocal parts, but optionally, you can double the parts with instruments. So this uses instruments. We've got recorder, trombone, viola da gamba, harp, and positive organ. So, that's just a nice little addition of color to the choral music. And the album is filled out with a motet, Miserere Mei Deus, or Have Mercy on Me, God. from the 16th century to the 17th, the music of the Italian madrigal composer Claudio Monteverdi, and Virtuoso Madrigals, a collection on the Archive Production label, nicely packaged with texts and translations on the inside in various pages, along with the notes. And my connection is that, again, in a music class in college, I wrote a paper on one of Monteverdi's madrigals. That one was Ecco mormorar l'onde e tremolar le fronde, and that's all I can remember of it. Hear how the waves murmur and the leaves tremble. But that's not on here. This is assorted madrigals performed by two tenors and or bass vocal, along with various instrumentation backing them up. We've got both harpsichord and organ and virginal, two people playing the virginal. That's like a harpsichord that hasn't had sex yet. Viola da gamba, violin, lute, chitarrone, which is like a lute, recorder, and dulcian, which is a wind instrument. So those are the sounds that we get in the background of the Virtuoso Madrigals of Monteverdi.
Non voglio amare per non penare, c'amor seguendo i duol sen va, non m'astrugendo di pene amare, non vuol più amare, no, 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 non vuol più amare, no, 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 no. Chi vive amando, se c'è amore, come te.
Finally, back to the early 20th century for the music of Erik Satie, and this is Volume 2 of Aldo Ciccolini's recordings of the complete Satie piano music. There are 6 volumes, and they all use variations on this famous Picasso drawing of Satie. We get a lot of Satie's typically whimsical titles. It's always fun just to read the track listing on a Satie recording. We have The Eccentric Beauty, The Mysterious Kiss in the Eye, Automatic Descriptions, Veritable Flabby Preludes, Chapters Turned Every Which Way, Unpleasant Glimpses, and all very short pieces. In fact, Sports and Entertainments is a 12-minute, 38-second recording here, and that covers 21 individual pieces, starting with the unappetizing chorale, and then the sports and entertainments, the seesaw, hunting, blind man's buff, fishing, golf, carnival, the picnic, tango, flirt. That's an interesting entertainment. Interestingly, several of the compositions on here are for piano four hands, but there's no mention of a second pianist or of Ciccolini overdubbing the second parts himself. My guess is that it is an overdub job. So that's VC Friday for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Be well. Next week we'll have maybe more vinyl finds, maybe a history lesson of some kind. We'll see. But until then, thanks again for watching. Be well, and I will talk with you again soon. Bye-bye for now.
I say it's crackle, the crispy sound. You gotta have crackle or the clock's not wound. Geese cackle, feathers tickle, bells buckle, beats pickle.